Which show did you drop due to the second season being terrible? This is a show that I bet nobody fucking remembers at all. But I love Human Target Season 1, show about a hitman turned savior that I guess is based on a DCB property. It was compassionate and witty and charming and not horrible production values considering it was just a Fox weeknight show. I don't know what happened, but Season 2 was just trash. It doesn't even feel like the same show. The way I explain when I recommend the show, mainly just Season 1, is that they got a perfect recipe, with the three guys in the leads, Mark Valley, Kai McBride, and Jackie Earle Haley, the guest actors that were related to the season-long backstory plot, the teasing out over the season of what that story was, and the different places and problems of every episode along the way. It had a lot of heart, took itself seriously enough with the main arc, but had plenty of fun with everything else around that. It was a show that felt like someone wanted to make it the way it was made, and everyone involved looked to be on board with it. Season 2 however felt like they got some feedback from focus groups and were instructed to add women to the core cast. Indira Varma and Janet Montgomery are both good actresses, no fault lies with them here. I love them both, but it felt like they were added to the show to make it more appealing to women. The cliffhanger to S1 is resolved not over the course of the first episode, but the first few minutes prior to the titles of S2. The story they built up, the dynamics and threads from S1 are essentially dropped in this time as well. It's shocking how everything is tied off with a bow so quick that I might even recommend watching it for that. I don't know the actual behind-the-scenes details, but that's my guess from the sudden change from S1 to S2. S2 is serviceable, and has its moments, especially with Guerrero, but S1 is where the show shines, and shines bright. I actually found that show to be interesting, because it came out during a time where shows of that episodic nature were either cops hunting criminals or criminals hunting bad guys, but Human Target and Person of Interest came out as unique, IMO, by having their main characters be neither cop nor technically criminals, but people with shadowy pasts and their own mostly unique reasons for saving people, and getting up close and personal with the people they were protecting. I've rewatched the first 3 seasons of True Blood more times than I can count, and then as soon as season 4 starts I lose interest immediately. The fairies and witch coven come in and I just I like witches and fairies, but I don't like the way they executed either of them. I like that every creature is real type of urban fantasy, but True Blood wasn't built for it and should have limited itself a bit more. Still think the first few seasons were fantastic, just sad it went the way it did, but apparently they're rebooting it. Tokyo in my opinion was one of the weakest part of season 2, and she is at the forefront of 3. It gets so bad and she becomes so unbearable, really puts everyone in danger because of her mistake. Honestly, she pissed me off so much on that motorcycle scene, like damn girl, there is something called patience. Mystery shows are typically like that. The insidious unknown threat with unknown rules is what keeps them interesting. Seeing the puzzle pieces come together is cool, but once you get an explanation it has a very short shelf life before it gets old. This is why most good shows like this are mini-series or anthologies. I completely disagree. I was speaking to child counselor just after season 1 came out and she said that she couldn't remember her job ever being so difficult. She said basically overnight, young people who never even knew what suicide was went from mentally ill to suicidal. And if all that wasn't bad enough, the characters and writing was just so damn bland. If you want a good coming-of-age drama, I'd highly recommend Freaks and Geeks instead. Second season of AC was total trash. It barely followed the first season. It went from cool counter-terrorist turned separatist plot line to lovesick puppy with a confusing storyline. They shoehorned so many stupid love stories into season 2 unnecessarily, not to mention the weird magic abilities one of the main characters miraculously acquired. My GF likes to rewatch things she doesn't quite get the first time, so she rewatched AC1 again with season 2 right after again. She said she still had no idea how they were connected and it just made no sense. It started as Piper's story. Everyone else happened to be side characters in her own arc of alleged self-discovery. Then ratings found the side characters were more compelling to tell the stories about, so the show became about the other inmates and the circumstances leading them into prison. They continued to shoehorn Piper in, but mostly as the "oh hey, here's the connection to the main plot we started," and just got muddier from there. The problem with that reboot is that murder mystery shows are a dime a dozen now. Arguably the two best episodes of the remake are the Japanese Tsunami and the Alien episodes from the first season. The Tsunami episode is about survivors seeing ghosts. In reality, it's an entire episode talking about how the Japanese deal with death and how a lot of them are suffering from survivor's guilt and PTSD. Absolutely amazing episode. The Alien episode is kind of the opposite. It's classic unsolved mysteries corniness. It tries to take a ridiculous situation and make it serious. The shot of the guy laying in the grass looking into the sky talking about aliens is 100% pure 80s corny, and it's amazing. First season made me cringe hard but was still enjoyable and watchable for some reason. Stopped as soon as it went to the CW lol. And I'm someone who loves dumb CW soap operas, but them just being like, hey Supergirl, did we mention we also have the secondary secret base that's way nicer than the first one? I couldn't tell, like straight up telling Kara, hey girl, we changed networks, would have broken the fourth wall less. At a certain point you just can't feel bad for them. They are in Georgia. Why? When 99.9% of the population dies, resources are bountiful. At least for like 5 years. Go to some damn warehouses, pharmacies, infinite supply of medicine for like 20 years, even in a medium-sized city. Yet in that show they immediately have nothing. Other than periods where you are cut off from resources, you can always find more. Run past the dumb zombies and get a 20-year supply of tuna fish at a local warehouse. Move into a Costco. Jesus, I realize the big cities probably have more zombies, but if everyone killed 20 zombies a day they would clear up in a few months. Just have a zombie clearing campaign where every able-bodied person just sweeps through whole areas and puts them down. Instead, a pack of zombies just pops out spontaneously at any moment whenever it's convenient. Plus the zombie rules are all over the place. Every single person already has some kind of virus. When they die of even natural causes they turn. If they get bit they will die somewhere between immediately and like 3 or more days. They will slowly get sick and die then turn. The zombies apparently use scent to know if something is another zombie. So if you smear blood all over yourself they completely ignore you. So contacting the blood doesn't turn you but a bite does. So it's the saliva that spreads a virus you already have. The zombies kill people by eating them. Yet at a certain point they stop eating them, then that person is now a zombie. What stops them from eating the entire victim and then that person is intact enough to be another Walking Dead? Wouldn't all the zombies not just be dead and rotting but also like half-eaten? Zombies can hear and smell, but can they see? It is very inconsistent. You can observe the zombies go after the noises the people make but never the noises that the other zombies are making. Couldn't you carry around a sack of things that make a bunch of noise when you throw them to distract the zombies easily? They don't seem to hunt by sight. They can smell apparently but not well enough to determine if it's a living human with blood smeared on them or not. So if they can tell the difference between a living human making a sound and a zombie making one, but they can't tell the visual difference between a blood-smeared human and a zombie or by scent, I mean it just doesn't make sense at all. Which is it? Seems like if zombies eat humans there wouldn't be enough left to make a whole effective zombie. They are basically programmed to spread and then kill themselves off. Except they apparently eventually stop eating their victims. It's just stupid. I Quit Altered Carbon. Season 1 was amazing and set the noir detective thriller cyberpunk tone so well. S2 was like terrible off the bat. Largely because Anthony Mackie just doesn't feel in any way like the previous Kovacs. I'm beginning to doubt his acting chops in general. It's way more action-oriented and less mysterious. Another low-key gripe is that it's literally a different world. There was a huge opportunity to create a new and interesting setting, which is part of what made S1 so cool. Such a waste. The season 5 ending was a great place to end the show. Season 6 and 7 have some amazing individual episodes and scenes, some cool storylines, but overall the actual ending they went with is just shit, makes little to no sense, doesn't provide any payoff for what it felt like they were building up to. They teased so many cool mysteries with the stones and the aliens and then just gave us ... That show got impossible to keep up with after season 1. Everyone was sleeping with everyone, multiple random and confusing temporary bisexual characters, lots of jumps back and forth in time and weird it turns out they are related story twists. I couldn't keep up with all of it from episode to episode and eventually just lost interest. It started to get ridiculous how many murders his large group of people were involved with and nobody came forward and no credible investigations were performed. I only made it a few episodes into the first season and it seemed like it was going to be another network TV show that tried to stretch out the mystery as long as possible by throwing in a bunch of generic, red herring, self-contained side stories. Looking at you two, Blacklist, by the latest season was there anyone left who gave a damn who Raymond Reddington really was? Too much of this on network TV. Shows that would be amazing if they were 6 or 8 episodes a season but they're stretched out to 15 or 20, as opposed to, say, Ozark, a show with 10 episodes a season and not a bit of fat. Correct me if I'm wrong but didn't season 1 have semi-regular just random really vibrant green bushes in the background of scenes with some dude camouflaged just standing there and nobody ever addressed it? Like, was that a hallucination? Was there really a random 5'X5 jungle in the cafeteria of this mental hospital? Who is that dude? Am I hallucinating? That show was trippy as hell. It was so good, I've never been less sure what was real and what wasn't watching any movie or show. Light 1. But wait, we can't have it end with him winning. Let's inject a child successor we have never seen in any previous episodes before, and force it on the viewers. If he was on the team throughout the first season and already had a lot of information, but was cut off from the final standoff, I think it would have been a much more organic transition. Honestly, in the modern era where you watch multiple episodes at once without having to wait a week or two between them all, Dragon Ball after Z started is pretty unbearable and incredibly repetitive. I think if I wasn't a fan already as a kid there's no way I could actually keep watching past the original series. The Walking Dead went downhill super fast for me. Koji's Season 2 turned me off to the show. Sword Art Online Season 2 was awful. Bungo's Stray Dogs is a good anime but honestly after finishing Season 2 I have had no desire to watch more. I liked Season 2 but at the end I was like I think I am good on this story, I am not interested to see anymore. I kind of did the same with Tokyo Ghoul where I just burned out on the show even though I liked it. I didn't really feel like the show was growing in an interesting way and kind of lost interest in seeing the characters progress. One of my favorite anime was Darker Than Black. I don't really remember the second season. I know I won't rewatch it and it was much worse than the first. Stranger Things stinks of completely intended for one season only but holy fuck this makes money, let's get them to do more. So many shows are ruined by their networks. Streaming service in the name of greed. It's a perfect one-season show. Season 2 clutched at straws for a story and Season 3 tried some new ideas but was still forgettable. God knows what S4 has in store. Bravest Warriors, not Season 2, but the season when BW started to exclusively stream new episodes on VRV. Can't remember which one. The animation got switched to cheap Toon Boom puppet animation. The voice actor for Chris got replaced, and the writing was terrible. Could not even get past the first episode of that season. Such a waste of an amazingly bizarre web series. Probably an unpopular opinion but Broadchurch, I loved the first season. It was supposed to be a one-shot miniserie, and then Money God came in and gave us horrendous Season 2 and 3. I watched some of Season 2. Couldn't stand the characters from Alex past. Season 3 I watched Ep 1 and read the rest on Wikipedia. It's sad cause Season 1 is super good, really good actors and a suspenseful drama. Man, you're really missing out then. The first half of season 2 definitely dragged a lot, and the second half recovered a bit. The third season was great, and the fourth and final season was a top 5 season of all time for me. You really should just try getting through the second season, because the seasons after that, especially the fourth, are 100% worth it. The Killing. I remember watching it when it first came on TV about 10 years ago, and loved the first season, and then for whatever reason stopped watching during season 2. I don't really know the reason, as I don't remember it being bad. I still plan to get back into it at some point. Edit. I should clarify, I'm talking about the one that was on AMC, I believe, with Meyer Linas. Honestly, that was a problem by the end of season 1. They front-loaded all their ideas into a great first season, but they wrote themselves into a corner with that ending. I enjoyed most of season 2, but you could tell they were really struggling to fill an entire season, with the 2-3 episode samurai side quest that had no bearing on the overarching plot, and the whole flashback episode filling in backstory for Minor, previously a named character that easily could have been done in one scene. So after season 2 their only options were end the show or completely abandon the established setting, premise of the show and go 100% cyberpunk thriller. I don't hate it, mostly because there isn't enough good, high-budget cyberpunk media out there, but the shift was extremely jarring. B stars for me. How it all ends in S2 is incredibly dumb. The main characters did not want to report the real murderer to the cops for absolutely dumb reasons, and what ends up happening is the cops still got involved. It invalidates the protagonist's growth and progress and proves the final fight as a waste on time, and absolutely no one needs to lose a limb over that. I say this as someone okay with Attack on Titan's ending. Should have had the courage of their convictions and let Brody blow himself up. Instead we got his daughter's furrowed brow in season 2. All we wanted from this show was R-rated 24. Instead the writers had 2 buttons, and then Carrie had sex with, fill in the blank, or and then Carrie cried, because she is great at crying on command. What a waste. Could have been great. Instead season 2 was a dumpster fire, and the rest were little better. Touch with Kiefer Sutherland. Such a cool premise for a show, but Kiefer's character went from concerned, supportive loving dad who is helping his son make connections between people in season 1 to a fugitive, Jack Bauer type who was involved in multiple levels of international and domestic intrigue in season 2. Didn't believe a minute of it. Westworld. Man, the first season was a work of art. Perfect balance of plot, character, action, and philosophical thought for the average viewer to get sucked into the show. Not to mention all the mystery of what Westworld actually was and the fantastic ending to the first season. Then season 2 came, and it was clear that the writers had initially only planned the first season and were told they could have more after its success. It wasn't horrible, but bad enough where I never bothered to tune in to the third. The 100. Not necessarily the second season, but average quality of the show really declined as plot points became weirder and weirder. S4 was a high point for the show. Fewer repetitive battles, exploring an interesting new location, an enemy that can't really be defeated. S5 wasn't awful, but S6 and S7, though I haven't fully watched them, seem bizarre. Host bodies, Ascension. It became a show that focused way too hard on crazy sci-fi concepts when all we wanted to see was 100 kids trying to survive the Grounders. Metalocalypse. Season 1 was hilarious, introduced the characters and did a decent amount of world building for a show with 11-minute episodes. Season 2 was all over the place by comparison, like they didn't know if they were trying to be episodic or serialized, and it got to the point where I stopped trying to follow the show. Still haven't finished it to this day, don't care to. I think I love the slow bits building up characters and story, so long as it's meaningful in the end. For example, Walking Dead built up for ages for jack shit, got built up all these amazing characters and told of the world around them and butchered it. Breaking Bad's slow storytelling paid off. Every season was well done. Also spin-off series Better Call Saul is very much slower, but I personally liked it more than Breaking Bad.